Hey everybody, this is David Berry, and it's finally time. I have been working on my book for 2 years. I have my business partner and my good friend Roseanne Shannon with me today, and she said that she would love to join me for this bonus edition of Money Matters because it does. And we're talking about stop paying your landlord's mortgage. And we're talking about my book that I just finished. It's called Freedom from Rent, and we're going to break it down. Roseanne, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I have been working on this book for almost 2 years. And I don't know if you guys know this about me or not, but I was the #1 solo agent for Home Partners of America. That's how I started helping a lot of rental clients. That program really doesn't exist any longer. And when I partnered up with Roseanne, she was teaching me how we could start helping people that were paying rent and get them to become homeowners. And the interesting thing, and she says this to my clients all the time, she's like, you're gonna have to pay like $9,000 just to get into a rental. And some of the programs that she has, and we may dive into those a little later, talk about how, no money down, 2-to-1 buy downs, and we're gonna try to break it all down for you. I wanna be respectful of time. I only wanna keep this about 45 minutes. So I wanna dive into the book, and maybe before we start, Roseanne, you can share with everybody. I've been a licensed realtor for about 14 years in Nevada. I've solely worked with residential clients for the last 4 years. I was a commercial agent as well, so I have a pretty good experience in real estate, but she's got me beat. So tell everybody a little bit about your background and how long you've been doing this.
Okay, well, I've been in the mortgage business since 1994. I actually started out as a receptionist, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I learned the business, became a processor, became a loan officer, just all the different facets of the industry I really learned by doing those things.
Right.
Yeah, and now I own my own company. I have been an owner since 2002. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I still work directly with home buyers, first-time home buyers, experienced home buyers, investors. So yeah, I just love the business.
Well, let's set the record straight right from the get, because I want people to understand we're not here to sell you a house. We're not here to tell you you should or you shouldn't buy. But what we are here, and I want to set the expectations for this video, an overview of the book, is to at least think about it. At least get free advice from a licensed realtor like myself or from a licensed lender, and at least look at the numbers. You may say, you know what, I think it is best for me to rent, but just the thought, and by the way, for those of you that say to yourself, I never ever want to own my own home, I don't want to have anything to do with this video is not for you. So if you want to become a homeowner, and that is your ultimate dream, is to have the American dream, so we're setting the expectations. Do you want to add anything to that? I mean, we're not trying to sell you a home, but we just want to give you the information.
Yeah, I think people need more information because you go to school, nobody talks about it, you don't learn anything about it.
Right.
Then you hear things like, oh, if I rent, then the landlord has to do everything. I don't have to do anything. Those are, just misnomers, really, because people build wealth when they own a house.
True. Yeah.
So it's just good to get the information out.
And 30 years of experience, I mean, you've literally seen people have nothing when they come to you 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and now you're like, man, I wish I had half as much or a quarter as much as they do.
They start with one house, they consider a starter house, then they rent it out and they get in a bigger house, or they pull money, equity out of their house. I mean, there's so much more you can do once you own a house.
Well, here we go. We're going to dive in. And again, I don't mean to keep saying it, but I'm really proud of this. And this is my first book that I ever wrote. And this is called Freedom from Rent. And we're going to jump into it. We're going to give you a high level. And by the way, for watching this video, I'm going to actually give you a copy. So I can give you the digital copy of it. We have some that are being printed out too. So it's pretty good. And again, this is our Money Matters, because it does. And this is the Freedom from Rent edition. So let's go into the first chapter, laying the foundation of becoming a homeowner. So having a foundation, discussing accessing credit, income and savings, and budget planners. Maybe you can talk a little bit, because I know one of the biggest things is credit. And sometimes people say, well, my credit's no good, I can't buy a house. And Roseanne has helped so many people. So you're the expert. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and talk about credit.
Okay, well, I have a story. So one of my first clients many years ago, it was a holiday weekend. They called and they said, we want to buy a house. And I talked to them over the phone. I said, okay, well, we met on a holiday. So I'm very versatile. So I'll meet anybody anytime.
I know, that's
And
true.
so
True story. Yes.
I met them and they said, well, I said, how's your credit? They said, oh, I think it's pretty good. So I did the credit report and there were like 6 pages of bad credit. So I was like, oh, this is bad. But turned out most of those accounts, the woman's name was similar to someone else's name. A lot of the accounts were not hers. So we were able to clean it all up, get stuff removed, and they bought a house and everything was fine. But a lot of people just don't realize, they think they have bad credit and they really don't. So I like to go over that with them. I have a tool that I can use to show them what to do, a few steps to do to raise the credit score if that's what we need to do. So yeah, there's a lot of tools available.
And then the other one, the big one, and I hear this all the time, they say, oh, we don't have the money. We just don't have the down payment for our house. I mean, we want to be homeowners just like everybody, but we don't have the money. What do you tell those people?
Well, we just told somebody that yesterday, that she, by the time you put your first and last month's rent, security deposit, it's about what you need to put down on, some of these products. So we have multiple products with down payment assistance. And, I'm not going to say you come in with 0, but you come in with far less than, what they're asking for nowadays to rent a house.
Yeah, exactly. And, and we've done this. Like, again, we're not here to tell you to buy a house, but we're actually here to tell you that we've helped clients that actually came in with less money than they would have paid had they been a renter. And this is why I think it's so important to continually say, just ask the questions. Just take a look. We will show you a cross comparison chart of what it looks like for you to rent for the next 5 years and and we haven't even talked about appreciation yet. That'll be in another section, but what the upside is of owning the house. And then lastly, people get kind of, I don't want to say freaked out, but I kind of have to say freaked out about getting a pre-approval letter. How hard is it really to get a pre-approval letter? And maybe you could just touch on that experience.
Yeah, the pre-approval letter, really it takes a 15-minute phone call to get a pre-approval letter. A little bit different than getting an approval, but a pre-approval letter, we run your credit, you basically give us your income information, we find out what your current debts are.
This wasn't on my list, but I think I want to bring it up just for our listeners out there. I want you guys to understand that sometimes Roseanne has to be the bearer of bad news. And she says, I'm sorry, but I can't give you a pre-approval letter right now because of X, Y, or Z. And then I know that a lot of times the clients, they feel like they get very deflated with that. But that doesn't mean that you give up at that point. Can you touch on what happens when you call a client and you say, I'm really sorry, but I can't get you approved right now?
Yeah, I give them some a roadmap of what they need to do. Some clients will just get a cosigner and be able to still afford the house. Just based on the way that they're getting paid, they can't get pre-approved, but they'll get a cosigner, a family member, or we make a plan to pay off a specific debt, or certain things are coming up where they're going to be getting more money, like a tax return or settlement, or just different things. So we make a roadmap so that they ultimately will be able to buy.
And is this kind of like in the ballpark of creative financing then?
Yeah.
And that's what Roseanne is really good at, because I've had clients, trust me, I've had many clients that I've sent to her that said that they don't think that they can buy. And then after talking with Roseanne, we figure out a way and they're actually proud owners of the house. We're going to move on to chapter 2. And this chapter, this is why we believe that you should never pay rent again. So in this chapter, we talk about the financial advantages of being a homeowner. We talk about tax savings and things like that. So let's start right off the bat with what are the upsides and why should you never pay rent again, in your words?
Well, first of all, you're building equity, and you're not throwing away your money. You're not throwing that money away to the landlord. You're applying it to your mortgage, bringing down the principal of your mortgage, and then with, like you said, appreciation, you're building wealth. So that's number one. The other thing is you have an emotional tie to that house. You're able to do the things you want to do, fix it up, paint, make it your home, personalize it for your family, for your children.
Well, I mean, I'm really glad that you brought that up because having home ownership, I've had clients that were rental clients and they've said, I'm not sure, we want to paint the kitchen. And I have to tell them, I'm just telling you from the property manager perspective, yeah, you might be able to paint the kitchen, but you're going to have to ask them. And if they say, no, we don't want the kitchen painted, then you're stuck with that color. But when you own, who do you have to ask if you can paint the kitchen?
Nobody.
Nobody. And I think really early in our webinar, but I think maybe it might be a good time to throw out a couple of things of maybe that people don't know about different types of programs that are out there that are available. Maybe they're not really familiar with it or aware of it. Do you want to talk about a couple of programs that are that you really are passionate about?
Well, we do have a down payment assistance program. And as long as there's seller contributions, the buyer can get in with minimal amount down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great program. It follows FHA. So once the rates drop, you can also refinance that without qualifying again.
Mm.
As long as you make your payments on an FHA loan, you can refinance and not have to requalify for it, just as long as the payments are on time.
How many months payments do they have to make?
Have to make 6 months of payments.
So in 6 months they can refinance?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Over the payment, yeah.
And then is that the forgiveness program where they?
Yeah, that is the one where they're getting down payment assistance and it's forgiven. It's not a grant. It's not a second mortgage. It's nothing that they're tied to. It's completely forgiven.
Forgiven is music to my ears. I'm
Yeah.
kind of smiling right now. Forgiven, let's use another word other than forgiven. What does that mean? Are you saying that they don't have, if they get $12,000 in down payment assistance, they don't have to pay it back?
Correct. It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, it really is. That is awesome. Well, that leads me to chapter 3, which is home ownership and wealth building. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the wealth building concept and talk a little bit about appreciation. And we already touched on that pride. I've owned 8 different homes, and I guess at the time of this video, right now, I'm actually renting a house. It wasn't the right time for me to buy, but I am going to buy next year. And but I've owned 8 different homes. In every single home, I can honestly say that I've actually made money on the sale of the home. So I'm very passionate about home ownership, and I'm also very transparent. I bet most people that make this webinar probably wouldn't say that I'm renting right now, but it was best for me to do that. And I'm going to be a homeowner next year. So let's talk about the wealth building and how does the appreciation work? And maybe you can explain it from a lender's perspective and 30 years of experience explaining what you have seen with your clients and what that wealth building part of it is.
Well, I have a client in mind that was fairly young. She was like 19. She bought her first, she bought a townhouse, and she got in with, just a minimal amount down, FHA loan, got a gift from a family member, and she literally, it was 4 years,
Right.
And because of the market and everything else, she made over $100,000 on that house.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was young. I was like, that's a lot for a young person to quickly make in real estate.
So I don't know how many of you guys, as our listeners, would like, maybe you could raise your hand if you'd like to get a $100,000 check. One thing that, and again, I said it before, we're not here to tell you that you should rent or that you should buy. But one thing I can say, both of us can say with 100% accuracy, is that if you rent, you will never, ever get an appreciation check when you sell your home. So, these are things that you really need to think about. And, I don't want to really make this like a tax class, but I think that it's really important that homeownership comes with some tax advantages. If you want to share a couple things about the tax advantages of being a homeowner, that'd be great too.
Well, the interest that you're paying on your mortgage, I believe you used to be able to write it off. It depends on how much write-offs you have. I'm not an accountant, but recently they've raised the minimum write-off.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't. You really aren't including the interest anymore. But used to write off strictly, you'd get an interest statement and be able to write that interest off. So things change all the time.
But there are tax advantages.
Yes.
They're just different now. So
Yes.
again, by having a licensed realtor, having a licensed lender, and then of course having your accountant and your CPA asking what the tax ramifications of being a homeowner. This is important. And again, I think the book is about 65 pages. Obviously, we can't do this webinar and do the entire book, but if you want more information about the book, I'll give you a copy and you can always ask us more questions. I'm gonna dive into one of my favorite things. This is chapter 4, and this is the buying process itself. So I wanna kind of walk you through what the buying process looks like, and we're gonna do this on a high level. And by the way, we're going to be breaking each one of these chapters down. So if you want more specific information on each chapter, we're going to be doing about a 10 or 15 minute segment on each chapter. So let's dive into this home buying process. The first thing that you need to do is you really want to have a licensed realtor. I'm just going to tell you straight out, choose me. But if you don't, maybe it's just not a right fit, but whatever, you have to have a licensed realtor and you need a licensed lender as well. Do not try to do this on your own. So now you have your licensed realtor, you have your licensed lender, and now we talk about the process itself. Now you're going to have to be giving documents, and maybe you can talk a little bit about what they would need to provide you so that they could get pre-qualified.
Yes. So first, when I meet with my clients, I ask them to bring their tax returns for the past 2 years, including their W-2s or anything associated with their tax return. So 2 years of tax returns, 1 month of pay stubs, and 2 months of bank statements, along with your ID, is the minimal amount that you would bring in. And we can review those. We calculate your income based on the 2 years tax returns and your most recent pay stubs. Obviously, your bank statements will show any money that you have in the bank and that's available for the down payment, which is we consider sourced deposits. So that money is sourced and seasoned. We're allowed to use that for the transaction. Other monies that are allowed are gifts if you have a family member that's going to help you in the buying process, which happens very often for first-time home buyers. Parents and grandparents help, and they can provide a gift, and we can do a gift letter and get their information. So that would be the first meeting with my client. I get their documentation, I pull their credit, calculate their income, and then I always ask, we figure out the maximum amount you qualify for, but I always ask my clients what they're comfortable paying.
Right.
You know, where are you comfortable? What's your rent currently that you're comfortable paying? And if you did own the house, could you pay a little bit more? Because you would have all these advantages. And so
the
that's
upside
the
of
first
appreciation.
Step. Yeah.
That's the biggest one. Just keep in mind that $100,000 check. And by the way, I don't have a crystal ball. The only thing I have is this little money bag, and I kind of use this for my Money Matters show, and it reminds me about money and how important it is. They are saying that in the next 5 years that we could see between 15 and 25% appreciation in 5 years. On a $500,000 house, you talk about 20% appreciation. Bingo. You just get what she just said, $100,000 in equity. That goes directly to you. And my tagline on my book is stop paying your landlord's mortgage. So do you want the check for $100,000, or would you rather give it to the landlord and let him collect that check? It's up to you completely. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I'm pretty passionate about that. So now when we get in now, and I want to make sure that we're clear on this. As a licensed real estate agent, I call the properties that you were interested in. The very first thing that they ask me is, in order to show this property, I need to see the pre-qualification letter that you got from the lender. If we don't have that and you haven't talked to a lender yet, I can't show you the houses. So when I'm going and scheduling tours on a property, it is vital that you have a pre-qualification letter. And also, years ago, when I was kind of a newer agent, I would take people around and I hadn't gotten the pre-qualification letter. So they're looking at $700,000 houses, but they only could qualify for 4. This is such an important step because you don't want to waste time. And by the way, you don't want to waste an opportunity. If you're looking at the wrong houses, the opportunity for the house that you want, you may miss out on it. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it up right on the button. It's imperative that you are looking what you qualify for. You're looking at the homes that you qualify for and not, under or over, because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then once we find the house, you have the pre-qualification letter, then we make an offer. And Roseanne and I have been very, very effective in getting either a 2-to-1 buy down or getting seller concessions where the seller is paying the closing cost. We're also getting the repairs. So if there's things that need to be fixed in the house, we have been very successful. The way that the market is, this is the time that I'm making this video is in the middle of September 2024. So right now, that's what's happening. We know that with the interest rates coming down in the next few months, that sellers aren't going to be as aggressive with giving different things and different concessions. So it's really important to understand that we do have this opportunity right now. We're in this kind of a great time for buyers. It's not really a buyer's market because of the inventory, but it is a good time to buy. And since I brought it up, I guess you need to talk about 2-to-1 buy down, understand what that means and how it works.
Yeah, the 2-1 buy down right now that's being offered, and these are things that are offered for a period of time and then they're not. So right now we're able to get them, and say the interest rate is 6% currently, or that's what you price at 6% for your mortgage. We could get the seller to pay so that for the first 12 months, your payment would be 2% lower, which would be 4%.
That's substantial, right?
Yeah.
Could be $500-$600 a month.
Yeah. Exactly. Saves you a bunch of money for the first 12 months. And then it would go to 5%, hence 2-1 buy down, and at 5% for the next 12 months. So yeah, it's an increase. It's quite a bit of savings. And the money that is used for the buy down goes into an escrow account. So if, say, in 4 months from now, the rates go down and you could get 4% and you could lock in at 4%, we could do that. You'd have to make your 6 payments and then you would refinance, and the money that the seller paid for the buy down, you could use towards your refinance or come off the principal of the house. So you don't lose that money. You actually keep that money in that escrow account and use it.
Yeah, I have to give a disclaimer here because I've had this happen with several of my clients. And when I call Rosette, she's like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? And what I'm saying is that some of my clients are asking sometimes, and it's not because they're being egregious or being aggressive. They don't really know. But I want to make it clear. You cannot ask for a $10,000 price reduction, $10,000 in closing costs, $10,000 for a 2-to-1 buy down, and $10,000 in repairs. The people that are selling their homes, they have a number that's in their head and they have to stick with. Now, we might get 1 or 2 of those, but I just want to make it clear to my buyers out there, and I want her to confirm this because she's a lender and she's been doing this longer than me, but you're not getting all 4 things for $40,000 off of that $500,000 house. And then with buyer's commission and the buyer's agent commission, we have to kind of factor that in. Most of the sellers that I've seen are offering some type of compensation for the buyer's agent, but now there's 5 things. So you have to keep that in mind. And that's why it's so important, especially now. You have to have a licensed realtor. You have to have a licensed lender. This is imperative for you to make a good decision. And Roseanne, let's face it, this is the biggest financial decision they're probably going to make for their life, right? So can you touch on that and just confirm what I said, that they're not getting all 5 things? Yeah,
no, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to expect a seller to pay $50,000 in concessions, whether it's closing costs, buy down, rate, or just price reduction. The other thing I want to touch on too is that when the rates do come down, the prices will go up. So as David said, right now is a good time for you to buy. It really is, because as the rates go down, the refinance process is easy because you've already qualified to buy the house. So refinancing is the easy part. But finding a house when the rates are down and the prices go up, then that becomes a little bit harder.
Right. And I know we're really getting into it, and I'm super enjoying this. Again, if you haven't heard and you didn't notice, I wrote the book. I want to give you a free copy. I want to help you. I want to be your realtor. And Roseanne is amazing. She has so many great reviews. She's been doing this a long time. So I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to go kind of fast. So now we have the offer accepted. Then we get the inspection. Then we have to do an appraisal. And by the way, guys, most of the appraisals that I'm seeing, the appraisers are really they're playing nice. I've seen it in a market where appraisers are like, yeah, we're not going to give it a $500,000 appraisal. And now we have to figure out how we're going to make up the difference. That's not happening. And then once we get through the 10-day due diligence period, We usually typically have a 30-day close, so it's very common that if you start October 1st, you can close around November 1st, maybe as late as November 15th. It happens pretty quickly. Getting through that first 10 days is vital. And then we're going to the title company, you're signing your documents, I'm handing you the keys, we're having a celebration, and now you're a homeowner. And to you first-time homeowners, that is a huge step. I don't know, I think Roseanne shared this with me before, but I don't remember what she said. I was 24 years old. The reason I think it was 24, because my goal was 21, but I served in the military for 4 years, and I think I made like $500 a month in the military. So it was difficult, but I was going to be a homeowner by the time I was 25. I actually made that happen at 24. So for you first-time homeowners, I've had clients that are as young as 22 years old. She's seen them as young as 18, I think you said.
Yep, 18.
And how old were you when you owned your first house?
I was about 21.
21 years old, so it can happen. So we're gonna move on, and again, this is kind of the process. If you have questions about the process, it's not really complicated. And the thing that's great, guys, is that if you have a licensed realtor that knows what he's doing, like me, and you have a licensed lender, and I didn't really say this before, but we're a team. Like, we do all of our transactions together, and by having a team, it just makes it seamless. And I have done some transactions when I didn't use Roseanne, or maybe they were from out of state, it gets really complicated. So, and we always say, you know, Rosanna would even tell you, if you want to get a second opinion on rates or whatever, you can call another lender, but she's so creative and she's so good at what she does, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to use her. So we're moving on to the next chapter. This one is the benefits of using a licensed realtor. Now, we talked about this before, and some people think that, well, now the way that the internet works, you can go on Zillow, you can find a house on your own. It's just, on average, I was reading something, I don't remember, I think it was in Time, it was in the New York Times or something, but it said that people that go on their own, it costs them between 15 and 20% typically.
More.
And she says more.
Of course it's
so,
more.
Yeah, so when you start thinking about the contracts, you think about the timelines, you think about the scheduling. If you miss a timeline, let's say you forget to do something that you were supposed to do, and you have a 10-day due diligence period, and now it's day 12. Do you think you can call the seller and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot that this was gonna end in 10 days. Can you please give me 2 extra days? What do you think he's gonna do? What's gonna happen?
No.
He's gonna say, absolutely not. I have access to the MLS. That means, and by the way, I wasn't really planning on talking about it, but again, mid-September 2024, we have over 5,000 homes in inventory. For the last 4 years, we've been hovering around 1,800 to 2,000 homes. So we've more than doubled, which is great news for you because you have a lot more choices. And when you start having a lot more choices, you don't typically get the seller concessions. But for some reason, there's just not a lot of buyers in the market right now. So sellers are smart enough to know, I need to do some stuff. So maybe I'll offer a 2-to-1 buy down. I'll help pay for the buyer's agent's commission, and maybe I'll do a small reduction. So, and that's where having the licensed realtor is really gonna help you. If you were doing it on your own, as an example, you may not have even thought about doing a 2-to-1 buy down. You may not have thought that you could even offer less. Like, there's so many different factors. So I don't want to go too long on this segment, but Roseanne, you've been doing this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I always say to my buyers, you wouldn't go to court without a lawyer, or you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't really want to go buy a house, one of your biggest investments of your life, your first home, second home, whatever, without representation. Somebody that is looking out for your best interest, making sure that they read the contract, they know there's no disadvantages to you in the contract. So yeah.
Well, I want to say one more thing about using a licensed realtor. You hear me talking this language. I live this language every day of my life. I usually start about 5:30 in the morning and I work till 7 o'clock at night. I know the language. This is my language. I talk it all the time. It is a very complex thing to buy a house, but when you do it every day like I do, it becomes second nature to you. So, and then I have to translate this language to my buyers to make sure that they understand. So if you are choosing a licensed realtor, make sure that not only do they understand the language of how to negotiate and to get you the best thing for your family, but also make sure that they can actually communicate that. Communication is probably the #1 thing that you need to find in a real estate agent. And follow up, really important. I pride myself on texting people back. I answer my phone at 8 o'clock at night. She just said she shared a story when it was a holiday weekend. It was like late at night and she answered the phone to help. So having these things in your realtor is going to be vital for you to have success. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, guess what the next chapter is? Your favorite. This is her favorite chapter. This is chapter 6, talks about having a licensed lender. And I've been talking a lot during this webinar, so I'm going to let her go, and she gets to have her moment of fame here about using a licensed lender.
Yeah, I can only talk about myself and why you should use me, but we, as a mortgage broker banker, I have over 30 plus investors that we use. If you walked into a bank like one of the big banks, you're basically going in and they're only going to be able to offer you their product. They have a small box and a small amount of products. So as a licensed broker banker, we have many products. It's kind of like shopping at Costco versus maybe a small boutique. They're only going to have a certain amount of products, and whereas Costco's got the bigger amount, they have the cheaper prices. It's more of a wholesale store. So with us, you're not paying for a big sign, big advertising, big paychecks. You're getting the lowest rate because we don't have that kind of overhead.
She probably doesn't want me to mention this, but I'm going to tell you. There's been a couple of times when she's had to help out a little bit to make somebody be able to become a homeowner because she's so passionate about people becoming a homeowner. She will make it work and she'll figure out a way. And that's the creativity that she possesses. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Good.
I know this is your segment, but I mean, I've done it on multiple transactions with her where she's come in and said, here, let me help. What do I need to do? How do I help these people become homeowners? Because we're both that passionate about it. And I didn't say this before, but I'll say the same thing. I have kicked in part of my portion of my commission to help people if it's necessary to make it happen, because homeownership is so important. And I just don't want to see you guys miss out on this window, because this is a window of opportunity without question. I don't know if you saw this, Roseanne, but I was reading an article yesterday and I don't remember what publication it was, but they're building a stadium. They're building it first and then they're going to find the NBA team. So they're going to have this amazing NBA stadium here in Las Vegas. So we already have the Oakland A's coming in, and now we have the NBA coming in. So with these big sports teams, and you don't have to just listen to us, but you can look in previous markets where that happened. What happens to the home prices?
Yeah, appreciation.
They go through the roof.
Yeah.
So, right now is a great time. So that brings me to chapter 7, which is summarizing your journey of becoming a homeowner and to stop paying your landlord's mortgage. So basically, if I'm just summarizing what we talked about, these are in the book. You can read the book, and please just shoot either me or Rosanna a message and we can send you the PDF file of the book, or if you want to get a hard copy, we'll figure it out. Section 1, we talked about laying the foundation and how important that laying the foundation was. And maybe you could just chime in on each section. We could just do like 30 seconds. So laying the foundation, what was the most important takeaways there?
About home ownership?
Yeah, laying the foundation, knowing what your financial situation looks like, knowing what your credit looks like.
Yeah, that's the requalification part where it's important to have a roadmap. Even
First step.
Talk to somebody and just figure out what you need to do and what you can do next to make that happen.
Chapter 2, we talked about why you should never pay rent again.
Yeah. Because it's throwing your money away, basically. Right? Let's make it simple.
And then chapter 3, we talked about home ownership and wealth building. Yeah. So that's the appreciation. And she shared a great story. They didn't have anything?
No.
They barely were able to get the house.
Yeah, got a gift from a family member, and then 4 years later had $100,000 in equity and sold the house and moved into a bigger house.
Who's going to be mad when you get a check for $100,000? Please let me know. Section 4, the buying process. We probably spent more time on section 4 than we spent on all the other ones combined, but it is complicated. And I want you guys to understand how it works. And it seems seamless because we do this every day. It will feel like it's seamless to you. But if you tried to do it on your own and you did the buying process on your own, it would not be seamless. I promise. Anything else about Section 4?
Yeah, I always think about I've heard it said that the most stressful time for people is getting married and buying a house. Oh, and having a baby. 3 things. So buying the house part, we're here to help make it less stressful. We're a team. We're looking out for your best interest. We're educating you and trying to calm your nerves, basically. So we're like the wedding planner in the buying process.
That's a good way to put it. Our microphone is coming down. I hope it's okay. I hope everyone can hear the audio is good. Then we moved on to the benefits of using a licensed realtor. I already talked about that. Benefits of using a lender. And then, and here we are summarizing. So again, this is our Money Matters. This is a bonus edition show. I have our local lender, Roseanne Shannon. She's my partner. We do a lot of transactions together. We would encourage you to send us an email. I want to send you a copy of the book. If you read the book or you have questions about it, you can call me or call her. We look forward to helping you guys. And in closing, if you made it this far in the video, that proves 100% that you are serious about becoming a homeowner. Most people in America, the attention span, I think, is like 16 seconds or something. So if you made it 45 minutes to the end of this video, then I'm pretty confident that you're going to be a homeowner. And thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. And as you can see in my sign back there, stop paying your landlord's mortgage. So copy of the Freedom for Rent book. This is an overview of the book, and it's now released. So I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.